Dornish people are telling a story where a dragon is killed, which is a veiled threat against the state. And
yeah,
he
I
calls
hate it when public shows are veiled threats against the state. Damn it.
these Dornish terrorists. It's crazy. Like, I wish it wasn't so it feels very poignant.
I was gonna say,
like,
are ICE agents gonna come out of the crowd and take everybody?
Truly, it's just like, I'm like, Jesus Christ, in this climate. Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Pot of the Seven Kingdoms, where we are taking a journey through the Dunk and Egg novellas by George R.R. Martin. I'm Phil.
And I'm Vilak, and we are continuing our read on page 67, if you have the paperback. Yep. Starting with, he was right about the end of the day's contest, and going through the very bottom of page 74, ending with, I didn't want to look like you. Phil, we finally get to talk about who Egg is. We finally get to do it.
This is the episode. If you have been waiting and reading along, you are finally going to get some payoff here for who is this Egg character. Is he just a bald boy from King's Landing? Sort of.
Well, sort of. Kind of. Yeah, he is a bald boy from King's Landing. That's true. I'll tell you who's the most surprised is in all of us is Dunk. Dunk is so surprised.
Shocked
by all of it. Shocked. So
it's as if he hasn't had a conversation with this kid in his life.
All of a sudden, the puzzle pieces just put themselves together in front of him. They just magically. And he's again like, I didn't know I was in the escape room. I thought this was normal.
Exactly.
So the section starts. So this is just after Aerion Brightflame done murdered a horse at a joust, and everyone's upset with it. And Dunk gets invited to go get wine with Raymond Fossaway. So he encounters Raymond Fossaway, and he's like, "Come on, let's go get some wine."
Which is the cousin of Sir Stephen Fossaway. So it's the squire. For clarity's sake, of which of the apples, it is the greener apple or whatever. My cousin's not ripe yet.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. I trust you. All the Fossaways are the same to me. But perhaps someday I will follow the differences and all that. But yes,
you will. By the end of this story,
I will have to. You're right. You're correct. But basically, Raymond Fossaway wants to gossip about what happened.
Yes.
And he's like, "Did you see that shit? That wasn't some crazy shit." And he gives us some information that's important. So Sir Humphrey was awarded the victor, for the day, like the best night of the day or whatever. And he was awarded Prince Arion's horse.
Yeah.
But his leg was broken and he won't be able to compete again.
Yeah.
So
and it's essentially like between Lord Ashford and Baelor, they kind of make the call that they were debating, do we replace Humphrey as a champion because he can't, there's supposed to be 5 and he can't compete anymore. They toss around a couple of names of maybe Humphrey Beesbury could be the champion because he was the last guy that Humphrey Harding beat before he got injured. But the one thing that's clear is that it won't be Aerion Brightflame taking his place as champion, which Aerion is Raymond passes along or says, did you notice how pissed off he was? Basically, he apparently threw a bit of a fit about the fact that he was not being awarded his place as champion, and obviously that he had to give up his horse as well as the price of his, from his perspective, victory. His ill-gotten gains end up being a loss, and it was Baelor and Lord Ashford who end up saying, you know what, it wouldn't be fair to remove Humphrey's arms and armor and his pavilion from the champion's places, so he gets to just keep his place as champion and just won't compete. And so
Which
there will
is
just be
nice.
4 instead of 5. And it is a little bit more of the Baelor Breakspear stuff of, hey, no one's going to, exert their princely authority in this unfair way and win without winning, essentially. Like, you either win the jousts, or if you cheat, you get nothing.
Yep.
Like, good day, sir.
Yep. Which is good. And I think that's like the fair thing to do too. It's like, come on, man. Like, you can't come in here and like kill this guy's horse and maim him potentially permanently because he has a broken leg and this is not modern medicine.
Yeah.
So like this guy could be hurt like forever. Like, no, like give me your fucking horse and get out of here. And I do think it's even like an extra dig at Aerion to leave Humphrey's arms up and not replace him with another potential champion. That's kind of like, Aerion, you fucked up so hard. This man is a champion and cannot again be challenged. He is a champion from this joust.
Yeah.
So I do love Raymond Foster. I like gossiping with Dunk about this.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too because we've talked about Dunk's obvious. He is not comfortable being around knights, and we get in this section sort of the, we'll probably get to this in terms of the analysis and things, but we get this description of Dunk's discomfort because he tries to make up an excuse not to hang out with Raymond. He says, I have matters to attend to, again, which is the same excuse he used to not fight Steph and Fossaway when they first ran into each other.
Yeah.
He can't get away with it this time. Egg even dimes him out and says, oh, I'll like go get your shield if she's done painting your shield. Like, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So he's like, damn it, the one excuse I had to get out of this. But the funny thing about this to me is that Raymond Fossaway does not see him and himself as not equal. Like, he sees them as having there's basically nothing weird about them hanging out and talking shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And Dunk is deeply uncomfortable about the whole thing, where he's talking shit about a prince of the Targaryen family openly.
And it's like I forget where it is, but Raymond basically says like everybody knows that Aerion did this on purpose.
Yeah.
Like he
says he's a bad piece of work.
Yeah. Which and Dunk's like, oh man, are we allowed to do that, man? Are we allowed to say that?
Yeah. We also get the news that Maekar is off hunting for his sons. So he actually wasn't at the jousts. Because, and we get that because I guess, from Raymond Fossaway's perspective, he's like, if Maekar was here, he wouldn't have done that shit.
Right. Like, he's daddy's boy. He'll behave in front of his dad.
Yeah.
But when his dad's not around, he pulls shit like this. Yeah. Absolutely.
And so he's looking, Dunk says that he noted, saw that Prince Maekar's chair was empty, and Raymond Fossaway says he left Ashford to search for his sons, along with Roland Craycall of the Kingsguard, and there's this wild tale of robber knights going about, but I'll wager the prince is just off drunk again. So we get more about Daron and Daron the Drunken, Raymond calls him, and then the youngest boy was with him as well. They left Summerhall together, but never reached Ashford. So we get.
I wonder where that youngest boy is.
We talked a little bit about Maekar last time, and in this, we get more from Raymond Fossaway in terms of Maekar being sort of like the odd one out among his brothers. So the sons of the king, you obviously have he was not quite as bold as Prince Baelor, nor as clever as Prince Aerys, nor as gentle as Prince Rhaegal. So it's like he's thought of as like, he's bold, but he's not as bold. He's not calm. He's not like, none of the virtuous things that they think about his brothers are things that they think of Maekar. Which is very much like you wonder if the order were different, if Maekar, it would be thought of differently.
Yes, because you run out of adjectives after a while. Like,
Right.
The same thing happened with Jaehaerys and Alysanne's children. They had, 14 children or something like that. They had like a huge quantity of children. And they also started running out of shit to do with them towards the end. They were like, they had one of their sons towards the end, which also started with a V. I forget exactly his name, but he was like not martial and like not into girls. And Jaehaerys was like, "What do I do with you?"
Yeah.
Jaehaerys was like, "I don't know. I don't get this one. He doesn't like girls. He doesn't want to have sex with his sister. What?
Yeah.
And he doesn't like a sword. I don't understand.
What's wrong with him?
What's wrong with him?" Yeah, but I'm interested in the fact that they describe Prince Rhaegal as gentle, because elsewhere Prince Rhaegal is always described as sickly.
Yeah.
So, and also like a man
Propaganda.
described as gentle is like
propaganda.
Yeah.
The one other thing I wanted to say about this section is when Raymond Fossaway tries to get Dunk's attention. This is where again we have, we've been talking about this whole podcast, and we are now on the 8th episode of. We've talked basically every episode about the fact that Dunk is not a knight, right. And it's not controversial to say so. This scene starts with Raymond Fossaway being like, "Sir Duncan," him not registering who's being spoken to. Sir Duncan, him still being like, nothing, and then being like, Dunk remembered that was him.
I love him so much. He's so great.
It is
his soul.
Yeah. And it is partially because, yes, he was never like called Sir Duncan until literally right now. But it's also because it's not who he is. Right. Like it's not his name.
Because he's not Sir Duncan, he was not knighted. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, I that just really stuck out to me of him. Suddenly Dunk remembered that was him. Which I just love very much. And then
this section ends and everything's fine.
Yeah.
And nothing bad happens.
He gets, well, George does a very clever and sort of mean thing of they're talking about, Raymond Fossaway is talking about Maekar's sons. And says Daron's a sot, Aerion is vain and cruel. The third one was so unpromising they gave him to the Citadel to make a maester of him. And the youngest, Sir Duncan, Egg burst in panting.
Oh no! What could that mean? Are you implying something? So yeah, Egg bursts in
as if on cue.
Yeah. Exits followed by a bear. He bursts in, and he's like, they're attacking the puppeteers. So they're attacking Tanzel, right? Not Tansy. Tanzel.
Yeah, Tanzel. Yeah.
Tanzel. And he's like, "You got to come quick." And Dunk's like, "I am big and strong and was made specifically for this kind of fight. Yes. I will come immediately." And Egg is like, the person who's hurting Tanzel is Aerion Brightflame. Oh no.
Yeah, we get the puppeteer's stall's been knocked over. There's a lot of like, I think this is where the sort of cruelty of the violence of the last section is now manifesting itself even further. Because there is a certain amount of cruelty of, being a prince who's armed and protected by the laws of the kingdom and all of those sorts of things, and attacking a puppeteer.
And burning it. They burn a bunch of their puppets, like the beautiful puppets we heard about that were painted and all this stuff. They're like, they knock over the stand. The older woman is on the floor. They're burning the puppets, and then they're attacking Tanzel. And when Egg comes and gets Dunk for this, Fossaway tries to stop him initially, and it's like, whoa, that's one of the princes.
Yeah,
and it's like, fucking peace, I'm on this. He's like, I'm doing this.
I am trying to smooch.
Yes. I am also a knight, but I am trying to smooch.
So yeah, So the puppet, it's like the puppet stall's been knocked over. The Dornish woman, the boss, Tanzel's boss, is weeping on the ground. And they're burning the puppets, they're stomping on the puppets, and then the moment that sends Dunk truly over the edge as he sort of pushes himself to the front of this, because there is a crowd. Like I think it's worth emphasizing that there's like Targaryen men at arms are carrying out this assault on the
puppets. Yeah, so puppet assaults. Yeah.
It's a very like military operation that they have going on here.
Yeah.
But it is the moment. So Aerion forces open Tanzel's hand, grabs a finger, and cruelly breaks it. She screams, and that basically sends Dunk over the edge, where he pushes his way past. It said one of Aerion's men tried to grab him and went flying. There is no description of what Dunk does, just that a guy tried to put hands on him and he goes flying. The use of passive voice can be powerful in the English language.
Yes. How to use passive voice 101.
Yeah. And he said his sword and dagger were forgotten, and along with everything the old man had ever taught him, and he straight up punches Aerion Brightflame square in the face.
Punches him down.
And then kicks him in the stomach when he's down on the ground.
Fucking get him, Dunk.
Aerion goes for his knife. He steps on his wrist and then kicks him again in the face.
Yes.
Like, this is not some, like, he doesn't, it's not a, push fight of like, oh, like, you want a piece of me, something like that. He literally just decks him immediately and then kicks him twice, once in the belly, once in the face. He is, and even says he might have kicked him to death right there. Like,
fair enough, in my opinion.
It was, Dunk has completely lost it. Like it was, he was seeing nothing but red at that point. And is dealing justice for someone who is attacking an innocent person.
Yeah, exactly. And he's only stopped because a bunch of men at arms swarm him, like multiple have to stop him. Yeah, because Dunk is large. The boy is large.
He is big.
He said Dunk smash.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love Dunk smash. That's what I want. So they finally get him down. It turns out that Dunk like knocked out some of the prince's teeth, or like loosened his teeth, which is like, good for you, man.
Yeah,
love that. And then they have this interaction about Aerion kind of remembers that he took him for a stable boy. And they just kind of have this back and forth, and they're gonna Aerion's threatening to get a hammer and break all his teeth out, and then let's cut him open and show him the color of his entrails. Which is like, okay, man, you just broke a random woman's finger for like fun.
Yeah.
He beat the shit out of you because you deserved it. Killing him in response is an overreaction. But it's Aerion Brightflame. That's what we're going to get. And wouldn't you know, Egg intervenes. And everyone stops all of a sudden.
Yep.
Why would that be?
Some people even kneel.
So weird.
To an orphan boy from King's Landing.
Yeah. And Prince Aerion says, calls him names, calls Egg names, and says, "What happened to your hair?" And then Egg says, "I cut it off, brother. I did not want to look like you."
Which is a dope line.
Yes.
And
so,
yeah.
Egg has been a Targaryen this whole time. Whoa! Couldn't have seen that. Had no idea.
Aegon Targaryen.
Who is the youngest son of who?
Maekar.
Okay, so there's Daeron the Good, Baelor Breakspear, his 4 sons, the fourth of which Makar, the youngest of which.
Makar is the fourth of the kings. Makar is Baelor's brother.
Makar's better. Okay, this is why I'm reviewing my
Yeah.
It gets so confusing. Okay,
and then
Baelor
Aerion
Brightspear has so it's Daeron the Good has 4 sons. Makar.
Yeah.
Makar
is the fourth of 4.
Is the fourth, and the youngest son of his sons is Egg.
Yeah.
Aegon. Sorry,
Aegon. Yep.
It was Egg.
And Aerion is his older brother, like the firstborn and all that. And then this Daeron is the second, I think. And then they said the third is unnamed. I don't think the third's been named yet, but they said
they sent him away.
They made him a maester. So, but yeah, so Egg is Aegon Targaryen, and a prince of and a grandson of the king.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's who Dunk has been chilling with this whole time.
and Dunk immediately looks at camera and goes, "What?"
Yeah.
And then the laugh track plays.
The show just starts with this scene, actually, and he looks into camera, and it's like freeze frame, record scratch. You're probably wondering how I got here.
I would appreciate that. I would think that was great. HBO. Just a
thought. So yeah, that is what happens in this section. Mm-hmm. So the analysis here, I mean, we talked about sort of Dunk tripping his way maybe up the social ladder.
Just like by like sheer force of will, by like going to this tourney and being like, I am a knight.
Mm-hmm.
I promise I am a knight.
Yeah.
And I'm going to join this joust. And like, he's like a few days in and there's like already people being like, Sir Duncan, like, come on over.
Yeah.
And like, let's have wine together. And like you were saying before, like he's so uncomfortable with it because it's like not real.
Right.
But he's like, he's manifesting. That's
sure.
what he's doing. Dunk is manifesting his knighthood.
Yes.
He has like a vision board in his tent. You know, there's like little cutouts of horses and knight stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what he's been doing this whole time.
Yeah. I think the fact that he, this whole conversation, along those lines, this whole conversation that he has with Raymond Fossaway is born out of the fact that he was kind to him earlier, right? And it's like
a good point. I hadn't thought of that. You're right.
Where it's like Raymond wouldn't have necessarily thought twice about this guy, but because he was kind and because he had this sort of like apologetic moment where Raymond was like, I shouldn't have told you to fight my cousin, like he's an asshole and whatever. Mm-hmm. So when he sees him later, he sees him as someone that like, oh, hey, like this is a cool guy that I know. And I noticed that he was hanging out with the common folk and like, why were you doing that? Because you could have had a spot in the gallery, like with the rest of the knights, and like every knight has a place there, and he sort of just like very innocently, I guess, approaching Dunk from a place of, like I sort of said in the recap, but like not equality as much as just sort of there's no assumptions or presumptions of, oh, this is a poor person that I should not be interacting with, right. Or is below my station.
Yeah, it's kind of like medieval networking.
Yeah.
They're like, they met briefly before at the previous day of the convention. And it's like, oh, hey, we met, like, you were cool. Like, you want to have a drink and like talk about our jobs. Like,
sure.
Where is your office?
Talk shop. Like,
do you want to switch? You have a business card? Okay. That kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, that was crazy. Like that presentation earlier really went sideways. That was so like
that was awkward, right? Like I didn't expect it. Ooh, talk about technical difficulties, eh? Yeah.
So I think I told, like, with your points, like Dunk is, he's making friends sort of inadvertently because he's definitely not thinking about the networking as what he should be doing, although it is totally what he should be doing.
Yeah.
Like a hedge knight has to make friends with nobles and be thought of like well to get employed in the future. So when you knock on that guy's castle when you're out of money, or knock on the castle gate, they're gonna open it for you and say, oh, by the way, we're about to fight a war. Do you want to fight in the war? Or hey, we need bodyguards or whatever. Like
yeah, absolutely. But I
we
mean,
need your
like,
services, and I know you, and you're a cool, trustworthy guy.
Yeah,
and he's
exactly.
sort of doing it without trying. He's not trying to do it.
I think the operative phrase here is Dunk is not thinking. I think that's pretty much it. Dunk is just dunking. He's just doing his best.
He is dunking.
He is just dunking. That's all he's got going for him.
Go ahead.
In a similar vein, I think this kind of ties into some of like the justice things that we see here. So like the fact that like, in the last section we read, Aerion Brightflame did this like awful thing that like pretty much everyone could tell was awful. Like everyone being the reader and our point of view character Dunk could tell was awful, right? And like oftentimes we see nobility get away with shit that like they shouldn't. And particularly if you've read A Song of Ice and Fire proper, and then coming to this book, you could easily see this kind of being swept under the rug or whatever. But there is a sense of justice here because Aerion is not made a champion. They take his horse, and they maintain Humphrey's status as a champion and like name him champion of the day or whatever, right? So like there is some degree of justice meted out even against a prince here, which I think, like you were saying before, really characterizes Ashford and Baelor, and also characterizes like the tourney, like the fact that the people at the tourney would be dissatisfied if there wasn't some kind of consequence of that. And that kind of rolls into what happens at the end of the section, which is Dunk being protected by Egg and the justice of that, right? Because it would have been unjust for Dunk to be murdered for protecting Tanzel.
Sure.
Right? That would have been like just wildly unjust. And the fact of Egg stepping in to protect Dunk gets us to a just outcome, which is that Dunk is not murdered.
Right.
And it does tie directly into one of our themes, which we've talked about before, which is while you have like violence begets violence, you also have goodness leads to goodness.
Sure.
Which this is just that exactly on the page.
Yeah. And it is it's one of those rare moments of of George allowing himself to do something like this in stories, which is the like there is somebody there to save Dunk. Right. It isn't just nope, he dies because the world sucks and people suck. Because he has treated this boy with kindness and making no assumptions about his lineage or who he is or anything like that. He earns essentially this karmic payback of he gets kindness in return from this boy who could have in the midst of his older brother said not a thing because he's inevitably also going to get in trouble for like you've been missing for days. Like your father, who's a prince, is going to be pissed off about this whole thing and is going to make you feel it in some way, right? Like he's going to offer some kind of punishment and other things. And your brother is also a psycho. So you don't know what he might do in response to this either. So Egg is actually risking quite a lot for Dunk, but doesn't allow his own, sort of in the way that Dunk is thinking selflessly in the moment where he's literally willing to die to protect Tanzel. He knows the consequences are going to be dire. And he even thinks like he means to kill me. And Egg is similarly not thinking about the consequences for himself in using his station to protect this man.
Right, exactly. And it's that sort of like beautiful through line of like Dunk's master who was kind to Dunk and taught him like how to be a squire and how to be a knight, like pulled him up out of nothing more or less. And then Dunk, who's very consciously passed that on, dealing with Egg the past few days, thinking about the way his master had taught him, trying to teach Egg the same way and that same kind of kindness. Even down to things like not making fun of him for calling him Egg, because like Dunk made this assumption that it was Egg because of how his head was shaved.
Yeah,
he assumed his head was shaved because he was sickly. Like he made all these assumptions, but he never used those assumptions. He never weaponized those assumptions against Egg. He always treated him with compassion. And this theme is actually remarkably prevalent throughout A Song of Ice and Fire. The like passing on of knowledge, but also of like the kindness and compassion that comes with that. And the fact that Egg gets to return the favor, you know, and does, even to his potentially his own detriment, right? Because he's protecting the guy who just beat the shit out of his older brother.
Yeah.
So like he's picking the side that is strictly against the Targaryen prince right now. So yeah, you're right. It's like quite dangerous. It's somewhat similar to like in terms of like passing on knowledge, Syrio Forel to Arya, because Syrio Forel teaches Arya important skills and then also dies, question mark, off screen maybe. We
depending on who you believe.
Maybe he's Jaqen, I don't know.
Maybe he's Jaqen Agar.
Maybe he's the High Septon. Maybe he's you know, he could be Jojen and Mira's dad. I don't know. It could be lots of things. Maybe he's Dario Naharis. I don't know. Maybe he's the red door on the house Daenerys was born in.
He is the lemon tree.
He's the lemon tree. We cracked it.
The lemon tree was the friends we made along the way.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that same kind of through line of like Syrio Forel does this like extremely karmically good thing for Arya, and then Arya is able to continue to survive in lots of very dangerous circumstances, and attempt to help others in the process. And she does succeed in helping some other people in the process.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of pay it forward kind of idea, as opposed to violence was done to me, and therefore I'm going to create more violence.
Right.
So there's sort of two competing themes, very much present, I think, in Dunk and Egg.
For sure. With the one thing, and maybe this doesn't fall into strictly analysis as much as just what happened. There's one line in the section that hints at why the attack happened in the first place. And it is in the exchange towards the very, very end. It's Aerion says, after Dunk reminds him that you took me for a stable boy, Aerion smiled redly. I recall you refused to take my horse. Why did you throw your life away for this whore? Tenzel was curled up on the ground, cradling her maimed hand. He gave her a shove with the toe of his boot. She's scarcely worth it. A traitor. The dragon ought never lose. And we see the story or the puppet show from they watched the puppet show once where a knight slays the dragon.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
And so Aerion is taking it literally as these Dornish people are telling a story where a dragon is killed, which is a veiled threat against the state. And
yeah,
he
I hate it when puppet shows are veiled threats against the state. Damn it.
these Dornish terrorists. It's crazy. Like, I wish it wasn't so it feels very poignant.
I was gonna say, like, are ICE agents gonna come out of the crowd and take everybody?
Truly, it's just like, I'm like, Jesus Christ, in this climate, it is him just calling out like a dragon dies in the story, which is obviously a veiled threat against House Targaryen by these random Dornish puppeteers who are literally just trying to make some money at this tournament. Like, absolutely. And I mean, to bring it back into the themes, it's sort of the insane lengths to which the powerful can create threats to themselves and make themselves marginalized in certain ways when the people they're attacking are the marginalized ones.
Right. Exactly.
Like there's nothing about you that could ever be marginalized. You are a prince.
Exactly, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Anyway. I mean, I think too, like, one of the things I find interesting about this is like, I could definitely see someone interpreting this as like, well, Aerion is paranoid. He's one of the paranoid Targaryens, and he sees threats everywhere. And I'm like, I don't think so. I think he was looking for a reason to start a fight and found the thinnest possible ice to stand on, and just said that I'm going to start a fight here because of your puppet show.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, listen, if someone's trying to start a fight with you, they'll find a way to start a fight with you.
Right.
So it's not the puppeteer's fault because their puppet show included a dragon being slain. That's not like the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Paranoia is, I think my Kingsguard wants to kill me. This is not that.
Yeah.
Like, this is straight up inventing threats as an excuse to do violence.
Yeah.
And that is as a guy who he's basically looking for someone to take out the fact that he thinks he should be amongst the champions, even though he knows he did a damn dirty trick to beat Humphrey Harding, or beat. But it was against the rules, and Baelor ruled as such, and Lord Ashford, as the lord of this tourney, ruled as such. And so he's pissed off, and he wants to go take it out on someone. That is literally it.
That's it.
Like,
yeah.
Sometimes people just fucking suck.
I mean, not to make everything about modern day American politics, but this is J.D. Vance and Vladimir Zelensky. Like, if you're trying to start a fight with someone and your goal is to start that fight, you're going to find a way.
Yep.
And that's what Aerion Brightflame's trying to do.
Regardless of how thin the justification.
Right, exactly. Or how insane or made up or imagined the justification, and that's exactly what happened here. And I mean, I think one thing that's clear from Dunk's point of view is that it does seem like blatantly pointless violence.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
You are a prince of the Targaryen house. You are not being threatened by puppeteers.
Yeah.
You are not being threatened by them.
And that is the great thing, is that it is unambiguous in Dunk's mind. It is unambiguously cruelty, and there is no justification for it. While there are other people participating in this act, right? There are men at arms who are willfully, and they're just following orders, but they are willing participants in this like senseless act of violence. And afterwards almost certainly will say that, yes, the prince felt threatened because they showed that a dragon died in the show, and it was treason, and he named it treason. So he's right.
And I bet you real money that if this scene is in the television show, there will be people on the internet saying that.
Like, no, it actually is a veiled threat against.
Yeah, no, but really, you don't understand. In Westeros, the political climate. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'm 100%. Yeah.
And Dorne. I mean, they rebelled for so long. They're violent by their nature.
Right. Exactly. They're just those spicy peppers down there. They're so dangerous. Put a pin in this. Let's revisit it. I promise those comments are coming.
I really hate that. But it is gonna happen. 100%.
But I did want to tie this also to like a larger theme that I've been tracking for a long time, particularly in my podcast with Gretchen, House of Fire and Blood, which is what I think is one of the major overarching themes of the entire series, which is that the disempowerment of one disempowers us all. And I think a book like Fire and Blood that focuses more on the disempowerment of women disempowers us all. But I think that generally the concept is like, when you using a medieval feudalism society to explore this, when you begin to separate people into categories and rank them, you make the whole system weaker. And so as you see like the rise of the Targaryen family in terms of like power and everything like that, like it eventually obviously falling as we're focusing on the Song with Fire, the more distant and like highfalutin those Targaryens became, the less steady and solid is their dynasty. And there's a couple of things like that in the story, like the fall of the Valyrian Empire being one of them, that like they kind of fell at their height kind of idea. And I think that's something that's very much present here, in that Aerion attacking random puppeteers is not like making the realm stronger or making people like the crown more or like bringing us together or any of those things. It's a way to weaponize classism, to separate more, to weaken everyone.
Right.
Because the crown is not stronger for this event.
Yeah.
It's not people are like saying and being like, oh yeah, so strong, amazing. Who beat those puppets? You know, like it's not. It's just going to hurt people and disempower everyone involved.
Yeah.
And I think this is like a nice little microcosm moment of sort of that broader theme of the story.
Yeah. No, I think that's very well put. And I think in this particular moment, the weakness that is ultimately shown by someone who sees a threat in a puppet show is very, you know, it the mummers farce of it all, like, to use the term, you know, that is so widely used. I would say it, you know, that is I don't think it's an accident that he is, you know, I guess triggered by a puppet show. But also you know, the fact that the realm itself, like, is the strongest people in the realm right now and the most powerful personalities and the people who are doing the best job of keeping the realm strong are Dornish, in part, at least in part.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
so Aerion having this like crazy anti-Dornish sort of tilt and like this, they're traitors, all that sort of stuff, also belies sort of what we talked about last episode of you know, this idea that the blood purity will not save you, and like acting like these people are your enemy is not going to make, like you said, make your house stronger. And in the end, like, this sort of thinking is ultimately what will like undo House Targaryen, which is so it is almost a bit of not foreshadowing in the strictest sense, but just theme shadowing, I guess.
Yes. Oh, I love theme shadowing.
For theming. I don't know. It's something like that.
For theme.
Like, yeah. This type of thinking is the sort of stuff that will eventually lead to your family's downfall.
And actually, you mentioned a thing about when it comes to the blood purity, because I do think a lot of people ask why Martin included incest in the story. Because it's not like strictly necessary. It's a fictional story. It's fiction. You can do anything you want.
Right.
And I think part of it was just like, it's interesting, but I do think part of it is to get at this theme two ways. One, about the blood purity bit. It kind of is it's a logical progression from like, I think my blood is magic, therefore I'm not going to just have children with anyone. I'm only going to have children with my family. There's like a logical aspect of that.
Sure.
But thematically, I think it also gets at the fact that it's like the separating your family from everyone else ultimately weakens everyone. And the incest is like a physical depiction of that.
Sure.
And the fact that they're like so just like only dealing with themselves and whatever, and like become so separate from everyone else, like both socially and class-wise, but also like genetically, they like isolate. And then you have moments like this where you have an external marriage and the conflicts that come with that, or the lack of conflict that come with that. You know, Baelor is like super chill. Right. Like the reason there's any justice in this section is because Ashford and Baelor said, nah.
Right.
They said, no, Aerion, we're not riding with this.
Yeah.
And so I think that all kind of, I always thought the incest bit is thematically relevant, I guess, is the short way of saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit of the, I guess, at least thematically reminiscent of, if you're familiar with the Poe story, The Fall of the House of Usher.
Yes.
Where incest is used as, and then there's a physical depiction of a house literally crumbling. Like that's so he
remember that time that
really
House of Usher fell.
Right, literally hits us over the head where like the fall of the House of Usher. Oh, this will be subtle. You know, and so anyways, but I think to your point, like incest is often used in media to depict this sort of like either for comedic way, like of I'm thinking 30 Rock, the like Habsburg that is played by Will Forte or whatever, with the like baby hand, versus like in this it's like strictly done to demonstrate a certain amount of weakness in the family, and like when it's at its strongest is actually when it's not doing that. When it's not, when it is branching out, and when it is like, so the moments when they're thriving are when they're intermarrying with other houses and stuff, and when they're at their most frail is when there's this, you know, sister wives concept.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I think that's all the themes I had. I'm out of themes, fresh out of themes right now.
No, I think I mean I think the you know, we see it's Dunk's first foray really into a moment where he's not welcome and he doesn't give a fuck. it's kind of the
I love it.
Yeah, and it is this, like, you know, we talked about the sense of justice, but it feels like there is a point for Dunk where the structure goes out the window when there is something this intensely unjust happening. Which is very funny because and maybe gets back to the knighthood concept of, this is what all of the knights should be aspiring to do, because, you know, a chivalrous knight protects the innocent. That is like sort of everybody's concept of what a knight is, includes something like that in their concept. And yet the knight in this part of the story is doing the harm to the innocent, certainly not protecting her. And many knights are not intervening because of who is doing the harm. And it takes a person who is almost certainly not a knight to intervene against this person. And it's a very, I find that also very poignant, where even a virtuous person that we have met, Raymond Fossaway, who we think is a good person, and he's not yet a knight but a squire, and, you know, he aspires to be a knight and all that stuff. He even says, like, he's a prince.
Like, whoa, hold on.
So,
like, he has hesitation. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's not get too crazy here.
And I think he does show up ultimately. That Raymond and his guards show up eventually.
His brother and like the men, some men at arms from the Fossa, which I do love the idea of, like, these Fossaways are like, it's like, wait, what are you guys actually gonna do? Because, like, if you're like, we're gonna go scrap with the Targaryens, like, in a deadly fight, that's crazy. Like, punching Aerion Brightflame is one thing. Marching down there with like a dozen men to go kill people is crazy.
I like that though. I like that the Fossaways are like, you know, kind of right.
They're about it.
We're going. We like this guy. We like Sir Duncan. We exchange business cards. I follow him on LinkedIn. Like,
I heard there's a fight going on. And
I would like to be part of it. Yes.
There is a little bit of a characterization of Stefan Fossaway because he shows up with his sword out.
Yeah. Ready. He's like, let's go.
I don't think they even really know what's happening. They just know like his cousin went and grabbed him and was like, there's a fight. And he's like, oh, word? Like, and just shows up with his sword out, ready to kill. He has no idea who he's killing, why he's killing somebody, and it's just like he's ready to kill. So,
but I do think that definitely goes to the other overarching theme of, like, what the meaning of knighthood.
Yeah,
and like the fact that Dunk is a true knight, even if nobody said the magical words. Like, he is truly embodying what we expect a knight to be.
Yeah, like the ideals of knighthood, and how the ideals of knighthood often clash with the structure of the society, despite it saying that they value these things. But you punch a prince and you get arrested by a bunch of men at arms. Like, that's so the justice side is sometimes just meted out by the people.
I'm sure in the next section on the next page, this picture of Dunk behind bars is just because he's looking at the windows from a castle where he's been brought in and it's warm and nice, and he's a guest of Lord Ashford now. I'm sure.
Yeah. They were like, a pavilion in the woods? Certainly not.
Certainly not. Have this nice room. Ignore the bars. That was we needed extra security, but it'll be fine. Like, I'm sure that I think the rest of the story is going to be him being just, really well treated.
Yes.
And definitely not put in any additional peril. That's what I think is going to happen. I don't know about you.
I would totally agree that I think it'll be very straightforward. We'll basically just get maybe a couple of nice words about what happens the rest of the tournament.
Yeah.
It'll all go well, I'm sure, and I think we'll be fine.
I'll be good. No big deal.
What do you want to see when this is on TV? Because it definitely will be. This is another one like last episode. This moment will be on TV.
Yeah. This I could see ending like in episode 2. Like if you did the joust in the like sort of first half, and then you did this in the second half of episode 2, and then the cliffhanger being him being dragged away.
Sure.
I definitely want to see not Hulk smash. Oh my gosh, Dunk smash.
Dunk smash.
I want to see that punch. I want to see that first punch in the face that just throws him. Like I want to see Aerion's like fucking flying from that punch, and I don't want them to, like you were saying before, and I think this is actually a really good point because HBO has now it does concern me with House of the Dragon. I don't want them to make it ambiguous. That like I don't want it to be like justifiable in any way that Aerion is attacking these puppeteers.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't even want it to be like, they taunted him in like a fun way and he overreacted. Like I don't want there to be I don't want any Aerion Brightflame apology. I just want it to be, I want them to do exactly what's on page but on screen. Sure. So yeah, mostly I want that punch. That's what I want to see is Dunk punch Aerion.
Absolutely. No, I think I mean I really want this conversation between Raymond and Dunk because I do like the idea of Raymond being like a little bit messy.
Yeah.
But I think like it's important to show Dunk starting to be accepted even by someone who's maybe a fringe character in terms of the overall structure and society and all that sort of stuff. But it does need to show that he's being sort of embraced by somebody who's not, a secret Targaryen.
Oh my god, this is gonna make the secret Targaryen people like go crazy.
Another secret Targaryen.
Like, what the fuck? It's a secret Targaryen. His name's Aegon, just like Jon.
Right.
I hate it already. I like what you're saying about the conversation because you know what I could see, like the part where Raymond is calling Sir Duncan and he doesn't realize it.
Yeah, you
could do that in the script really easily because you could have him be like Sir Duncan and like Dunk's just walking, Sir Duncan and Dunk's walking, and Egg could be like hey, he's calling,
trying to talk to you,
and Dunk could be like, oh right, yeah, like you could show that on screen through like a little bit more dialogue very easily.
Yeah,
and that would be great. I hope they keep moments like that. Yeah.
No, I really enjoy that. Just like some of the stuff that gives you a little bit more of a picture. One into, I think the way that, because we're living in Dunk's head, the way that he's characterized is obviously different because we're seeing everything through his eyes. So it's like, it has to be a very different sort of approach to characterization. So I'm hopeful that those sorts of character moments are kept for Dunk. One, because I think people will find them endearing, right? Like those are the things that connect us with Dunk in this story he's just kind of an idiot, but in a way that is very endearing, and just like it makes you root for him.
Yeah.
Because he's just doing his best. And he
really is just doing his best.
He's just out of his depth, like has no idea what's happening. And so it makes you root for him. And I think it would be a shame to lose any of that like in the show, because I think it is something that I think, when you're thinking about what will people like about this particular story who have not read the books, like what would make a casual person watch this? And it almost certainly is like they have to really like Dunk and Egg, like that. They just have to connect with those characters like really quickly, because this is not a story that is like promising gigantic battles or something like that.
Right. Exactly.
Like, so they have to like the people involved, which I think is a little bit different than well, at least House of the Dragon. I would say maybe it's more similar to Game of Thrones in that people connected with like Ned Stark very quickly. You know, that was something that people latched on to. And I think similarly, people will need to like latch on to these characters, and those sort of characterization moments are things that I think will help people.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree.
Connect. So
yeah.
Well, cool. This is it feels like the start of something very big. I will just say. And so we are definitely into sort of the meat of this story. I was trying to decide where to cut off like the next section. I think it will be a bit longer just by virtue of the stuff that happens.
Okay.
But I was thinking potentially 85, like the paragraph break where it says, "Could anything be more plain?"
Okay. There's a lot of pictures on these pages, so it's not as much text.
True. So it sort of sets up the next thing without fully getting into the next thing. But it at least like sets it up and then, you know, from there's a little bit more of him figuring out what's actually going to happen. But we can maybe knock out a little bit bigger section.
Okay, perfect. So we'll read from I guess the top of 75 to 85, where the paragraph break is.
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah.
Or maybe even just one paragraph down to the illustration where it says, "And with dawn comes death."
Ooh, okay.
It's a nice like cliffhanger.
That's a nice cliffhanger. I like that. Okay, so we'll read down to "And with dawn comes death."
Yeah.
That'll be the name of the episode. With dawn.
Yeah.
Amongst all of our happy titles. So just
of course. Yeah, I've been going real lighthearted up to this point, and the tone is about to shift. No.
Now it gets dark. Hard. Just change the music in the beginning, just be like hard rock guitar.
Yeah, exactly. No more minstrel sounds anymore.
Yeah. Oh man.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, so, where can people find you on the internet that's not here?
On the internet, you could find me on TikTok as Block. You can find me on YouTube as Barely Functional B. You can find me on Blue Sky also as Block, which is a good place to follow me because I post other things, like links to other things there. Like I'll post our episode updates there and stuff like that. And I am also currently releasing pieces of a weekly. I'm releasing a science fiction zombie story on Substack, which will link somewhere, or I think you can search Substack. I'm also Block on Substack. I'm Block on most things. But if you want to read my shitty zombie story and come give me critique, that's the point. That's why I'm posting it. I want it. Come and tell me.
I am sure it's not shitty.
I am not sure about that, but that's okay. You know something? It's a first draft. You got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere.
First, you got to write the story.
Then you have to put it away and never do anything with it, right? That's how people do books.
In my experience, that is how you do books. Yeah.
That's what George is doing with Winds of Winter right now.
You write a shit first draft and then you throw it in the garbage.
Right, exactly. And
hope no one asks about it.
Sucks to be George R. R. Martin because everyone's asking about it.
George, it's all they're talking about out there.
Yeah, it's all they need. And what about you? Where else can people find you besides YouTube?
Yeah, so you can find me on TikTok and Blue Sky at Damon Bachfire. I think with us veering into the more political content, maybe it is like my TikTok seeping in here. But that is sort of my whole thing over on TikTok with the modern politics crossing over into A Song of Ice and Fire, because it is a way for me to think about it and talk about it. One, while being maybe a little bit cleverer than getting dragged into the normal conversation around it. And because if I didn't have an outlet to talk about it, I would explode. So
I love your TikToks. I think it's like
Well, thank you.
For me, it's the perfect kind of satire because it's like this world I know way too much about, and then real politics.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, I think it's excellent. So strong recommend.
Thank you. Well, yeah. Well, we will be back. Next Monday, I guess, with more episodes. And until then, I hope everyone has a great week, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye.